Hello and welcome to Picture Astrology. In this quick snap video, we will talk about placement of Sun in the 8th house for a Cancer rising horoscope. So when Cancer, which is the fourth sign of the zodiac, rises in a chart, then 8th house falls in the sign of Aquarius. So this video is also about placement of Sun in 8th house for a Cancer rising chart. So with Cancer is the rising sign, Leo, which is the sign owned by Sun, falls in the second house. So Sun becomes the lord of second. So second house placement or second house related activities will be directly impacted by this Sun. Also, Sun is placed in the 8th house. So 8th house significations will be impacted by the position of Sun in this house. And apart from these two houses which are directly impacted by position or ownership of Sun, there are many other areas of life which the position of Sun impacts. Because Sun is natural karaka of the physical self, it is natural karaka of your ego, it is natural karaka of your work life, your name and fame, the favors you may get from kings or government in today's world. It shows your ancestors, your spirituality. It shows how much self-sustainable you are. See, the only planet in the entire solar system which can sustain on itself, which can sustain all alone without any help from anybody else, is Sun. And Sun not only can sustain itself, but Sun is the one which powers the entire solar system. Without Sun, there can be no solar system really. No other planet can exist without Sun. So in a person's life, how much of self-sustenance, how much the person is able to survive by himself and how much help he can lend to others to survive. A lot of those things are determined by the placement of Sun in your chart. Therefore, apart from the direct impacts of Sun, which in this case will be in the 2nd and 8th house, there are many other areas of life which can be understood if we look at closely to this placement. However, in this quick snap video, we will look at some of the most important and critical impacts of this placement of Sun and also see what are the practical daily life implications of this placement. So out of all the significations, one of the most important area which is impacted by this placement of Sun here in the 8th house is the part of money or wealth. And that is obviously because Sun is the lord of second house, which shows your accumulated wealth and is one of the most important houses when it comes to your financial position in life. Now there are multiple contradicting indicators here. See, first of all, lord of second Sun is having a direct aspect on the second, and that is a very positive thing. Any lord aspecting its own house is extremely beneficial. However, Sun is placed in the 8th house. 8th house is one of the most negative houses in the entire horoscope, and in many ways it can show sudden and unrestricted loss or sudden turmoil in a person's life. So placement of second lord in the 8th makes or creates a lot of doubt in people's mind. Now add to that, Sun is actually placed one step behind 9th house. 9th house is the house of luck, and this house is very important in earning good amount of wealth in life. And when one of the karakas of 9th house is placed in the 8th house, it can cause a severe lack of luck when it comes to making wealth. So what happens is, when it comes to building wealth, people with this placement can feel that they have to work extra hard and they do not get returns in the same amount of their hard work. Now, if there are other influences on the second house, I'm not talking about those. I'm only talking about this placement of Sun. In 9th house, apart from luck, also shows gains from father's side. So placement of Sun here, what usually show is that either these people, they don't care about their family's wealth, meaning they have no interest in getting that money, or even if they do get it, there are chances that that money which they usually might get from their father's side of family, that may not prove to be very fruitful, or if they say start a business with that money, they can end up making losses because of that. Now all that is due to this placement of Sun in the 8th house. 8th house, as I said, is the house of sudden and unknown things, and it can show sudden and unknown losses. So if this very important suggestion, and this has been an observation in many charts, if you start anything with the help of your father when you have this kind of placement, or more specifically, if you get money or some sort of financial assistance from your family to start a business or a job or anything, then either you should not do that on your name. You shouldn't borrow money from your parents and start a business on your name. Rather, if it is possible, create a trust out of that money and work through that trust, or like a cooperative society or something like that. Create a separate third party entity, and you become a trustee of that corporation, and then work out a business out of that. That is a very important suggestion for people with this placement of Sun. Now again, if this Sun has aspect of say Jupiter, or second house has Jupiter's placement, then the things and situations will improve drastically, will change drastically. If say this Sun here has aspect of a lot of benefic planets and it is very fortified, then people with this placement can have sudden gains in things which they have not expected. In 11th house, 11th sign here is the sign of Aquarius, and Sun in this place can give them sudden gains in out of things which they have least expected, or from things like old antique pieces, business of old things, or buy and sell of property or land which kind of looks barren, barren land, things which other people are generally not interested in. Some of those businesses, which on the first glance or on the first look do not seem lucrative, those kind of things can give a lot of benefit to these people. But for that to happen, you must have some really good aspect on the Sun. And even in those kind of business, if you are trying to go into a business of that kind, and especially as I said, if that business is with the monetary or financial help from your father's side family, then it is always better to create a third party, or some kind of a corporation, and you become like the director or manager of that firm and do business out of that firm. So, and another thing which you probably would have been very clear by now, because of this second lord in the 8th house, which is the house of sudden things, people with this placement can see both sudden gains of money and obviously sudden losses of money. Gain because Sun has aspect on the second house, which is good for the significations of second house, but since Sun is in the 8th house, sudden losses are equally possible. And since 8th house in many ways also represents your old age, and placement of second lord here and Sun here is a very important indicator to start saving money for your old age. And it is really important that you do it as early as possible in your life. So if you have this placement, it is always advisable to either invest in relatively very safe bonds, at least some money for your retirement, like the government issued bond or government issued saving certificates, which give you relatively less but a fixed amount of return. And also invest in those long-term plans, invest in maybe like 10-year, 20-year bonds, or provident funds or public provident funds. Set up something of a bank account from where you cannot take money out for 10-15 years, and keep that fund aside just for your old life, because that could be a very good hedge against this sudden gain, sudden loss kind of situation which the sun can give. Now 8th house is also significator of other people's money, others' money, and placement of sun here basically shows you that you should be really careful in handling others' money. And this kind of ties back to handling your parental or your family wealth also, because that is also in some ways other people's money. Because what happens is, placement of sun here in this 8th house can give you or can put you in situations in life where you will have access to other people's money in a big way. And or it could also mean that you might get chances where you and some of your friends might want to pool in the resources and do some kind of a business together. Basically, this sun can give you opportunities to utilize other people's money for your own benefit. And as and when that happens, it is important that you don't sort of get overexcited about this situation and be reckless with that money. Because remember, sun is in the 8th house, though it is aspecting the 2nd. So basically there are equal chances of making a lot of gains as well as making losses by the use of that money which belong to others. So you must be cautious when you utilize some kind of pooled funds to start a business or invest that pooled fund into some kind of economic vehicle for further more returns. This placement really calls for a slow and steady approach, a very thoughtful approach when it comes to investment, especially the investment with the pooled money, where you have pooled money from other people. Because sun here can give you, sun in the 8th house here can give you a tendency to be reckless many times when it comes to investing money, and you definitely don't want to make losses when others' money is involved, because it can actually accumulate a lot of negative karma. Always handle others' money with care, especially with this sun. And as I said, this is not to sort of get worried or uptight about, because there are equal chances of making money and equal chances of making losses. So friends, these are some of the most important money lessons of this placement of sun in the 8th house. We will talk about many other significations of this placement in a detailed video soon. Till then, thank you so much for being with me, and I hope to see you again soon with another video and more learnings of astrology. So till then, take care of yourself and bye-bye.